Hello everybody, welcome back to Jerfish Farms, Jerby Apiary, and Jerfish Entertainment. Today, we're tapping a couple of maple trees. It's kind of early to be tapping in upstate New York. From what I understand, this is my first time trying this. This is about January 25th right now. They usually say around February 10th is time to tap. We have a warm streak coming up, so I just thought I'd put in a couple of test pilot bags, and then we'll not miss the flow because we'll at least have these indicator. These are kind of an interesting little thing I found on Amazon. I'll put the link in the description below. It's a way to tap the trees with bags that have these PVC pipes that are cut off in order to hang off of the spile, which is the little spout spigot that gets tapped into the tree itself. Probably have to use this more with metal, I'm guessing, than with plastic, just so it has that extra support, but that's what it came with in the overall kit. Over the course of this year, I'm going to try a few different types of tap and collecting setups. This is the first one. It's a bag over a PVC strip, and this is how you do it. So this drill has been marked with a bit at 1.5 inches, and you want to drill at a slight upward angle so that things flow down outside of the spout. And that's the kind of wood you want to see, not any kind of dark colored or dry. This is some nice, good pulp. You can already see there's a little bit of sap starting to pool in the back of the hole that I made there. So the next step is to put in your spile. These are metal spiles, and you tap them in gently with a hammer. You'll feel it when it is seated. You typically want to take it all the way, although there are some nuances with these particular hangers, as you'll see. Test and see here. It looks like I can still get that over there. Technically, you should be pounding this in the whole way, but these don't really stay on here too well without bungee cords if you don't leave it a little bit of a space there. And there's sap flowing. With this particular bag system, you need to attach the bag to these plastic PVC hangers. So you fit it up over the edge, and there's a little groove that exists for the zip ties to adhere to in order to try to give it so it doesn't pull down whenever it starts filling up with fluid. Then you bend all of the leftovers over top of that zip tie, and you place another zip tie underneath that to double reinforce it. And that way it can hang freely and with less concern that it's going to pull off of the overall system. Overall, it's pretty slick. This is opposed to the metal hanger system with hoops, or if you're using buckets with either just resting directly on the spile or buckets with hooks, which we'll see some other examples of these things as the season continues. And there's your finished product. Now all we need to do is wait while I look at the other trees that I'd marked whenever there were still leaves on the trees, so I knew which ones were maples, and see what happens the next day. Well, it's been about 24 hours since I put in my pilot taps. Checking on them now, see how much we have being produced by both red and sugar maples, and make a determination if it's time to start tapping the rest of them, or just let this ride a little bit more since this is just kind of a sample program. It is 61 degrees right now, which is a little bit odd for January, not unheard of. I certainly remember it being 70 degrees before in January a number of times, but it's not typical. It's going to make things interesting to know what to do with tapping trees here over the course of the next few weeks. I think I'm just going to end up tapping early. The concerns of tapping early are dry taps, where they won't be able to put out and you're going to have to put a new tap in. I think we're late enough in the season, it's going to be less of a concern there. It's going to be an interesting one here, kind of making this up as I go. 24 hours later, this is what the red maple had put out. You can see it's not really too much. The sugar maple, on the other hand, was much more productive. They were both south-facing taps, which should produce earlier than on the north-facing tap because of the way the wood heats with the sunlight. Not sure why the sugar's putting out more, but looking good. But how do you know if it is the right amount of sugar content and it's worthwhile? Well, that's where a refractometer can come into play. These aren't too expensive. You can get them on Amazon. And this one is calibrated specifically for very low sugar content, since we're looking to be around 2.5% sugar. These essentially work by measuring the amount of light bending that is occurring as it passes from air through your liquid, and the more stuff you have in there, essentially it'll deflect more, and then you will get your different values. So when I first put the sap on there and took a reading, it was reading a little on the lower side, but not too terrible. It was in the 2 range. However, I started to become suspicious that I had not calibrated it yet, and there is a calibration ability on these. Therefore, the next step I did was I put a drop of pure water on there from a reverse osmosis system and noted that indeed it was not reading at 0. And it has this little adjuster on the top. It's a screw hole that then you can look through the view piece and then adjust it up and down to 0 it, essentially. And you want to do that before you use it each time. There are also some discrepancies that can come depending on the temperature of everything, but for general purposes, if you just let it go to a room temperature, that's good enough. So now we're nice and zeroed. We get another reading with our sap and see we're around 2.4 to 2.5%, which is pretty much what you would expect. So we're looking pretty good. Seeing the sap was coming out was good quality, I thought it was time to go out and tap some more maple trees. And I'm gonna have another video coming up talking about the other taps that I use and even doing a tap line system. Hopefully this works out. It's gonna be a really fun project, and we will see you next time here at Jeremy Farms and Jerfish Entertainment. Remember to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.